Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Ashley from Ashley's Argonauts, and it's been a while since I've seen you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I took a while just to kind of focus on work because, like, I'm sure you know, it's making comics is pretty expensive on our end, and
Yeah.
I just reached a point where I was like, if I'm gonna do, obviously, I had issue two coming on the way, and I was like, to do this right, I should probably take a little bit of time, save up some money, make sure I can kind of pull my focus into it when it actually goes.
Oh, yeah. I got issue number one. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for issue two.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm actually working on something that you probably enjoy. I'm doing a after Unbreakable Argonauts number two, we're going to crowdfund a like an old school science fiction magazine,
Oh, wow.
like astonishing stories and that kind of thing, and going to have some really nice comics inside, and hopefully going to work with some other creators and publish some other stories in there and interviews and
Oh,
that
really?
kind of thing.
Is it open for submissions?
It will be when it goes live. I'm a little bit hazy about doing things like months ahead because things change and people.
Because, oh, man, I have an idea for a science fiction story that doesn't fit into my world whatsoever. And
Yeah.
so I was thinking about it all night last night. So obviously, I don't have an artist, I don't have a script, but just the fact that you're doing that kicks me in the ass, and maybe I'll get doing it. But first, let's Heroic Tales 2. I should be getting the proofs today. I just got a notification. My hair is crazy. I hate going to the barbershop, and with these crazy hours, I can't get to the barbershop, so I need to get a haircut. But anyway, the proofs for Heroic Tales 2 should be coming in today. I'm so excited. I'm going to be at work like, asking my wife, did the mail come? Did the mail come? And then if everything's good, I hit print, and I'm hoping that by the end of next week, I can start fulfillment. And we got Zactan with the blessing. Okay, yeah, no. My new time is not the best time slot. I apologize to everybody. I can only stream on noon ish at midnight ish until January when my shift goes back to normal. But knowing the way it is, they'll probably extend it. Chuck Keyworth says, hello, how you doing? How's everybody? So Ashley, so you have Ashley's, well, the name of the comic isn't Ashley's Argonauts. The name of your comic is The Argonauts.
The Unbreakable Argonauts, yeah.
The Unbreakable Argonauts. And like I said, I got issue number one. And you came on a while ago. I think this is your third time on my channel.
I think so, yeah.
You hit it off talking about pulp heroes and everything. And your comic is a pulp inspired superhero World War II. I mean, it's just everything that I like. And since we've talked, I read the first Doc Savage novel, and I'm halfway through the second Doc Savage novel. So I just ordered the first Shadow novel. I'm catching up on my pulps.
Very nice. I've been like absolutely throwing myself into trying it. It's kind of tough to read the old science fiction magazines because a lot of comic shops don't actually carry them because they're more magazines than they are comics, and it's not. And a lot of people who own those, they're pretty expensive and aren't looking to necessarily trade them that often. And when you can find them, they're from like the 1950s and they're $100 a magazine. It's pretty difficult.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just such a really unique time for comics.
I'm reading. Speaking of science fiction, I'm reading Marvel's Epic, which is like their response to heavy metal. You know, it's like pot smoking science fiction is the way I describe, which is exactly this. There you go. This is why I've been reading Epic for the past week. I come home from work, I read like a story or two of Epic, and then I go to bed. And is it any wonder that I had a pot smoking science fiction story just pop into my head?
It's kind of funny you say that because when they did when Grant Morrison did his Green Lantern series, I remember a lot of people hating it, and I just loved how absolutely insane of a comic it was.
You know, I quit reading Marvel and DC, 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been 10 years. But I am really interested in picking up the Grant Morrison Green Lantern series because I'm still a fan of Grant Morrison. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and hell, he rubs me the wrong way half the time. But the one thing you can't deny is the guy comes out of left field, and you might not like it, but you have to admit that it's interesting. But I tell you, I discovered Grant Morrison. I forget which one came out first. Was it Doom Patrol or Animal Man? But Doom Patrol and Animal Man in the
I think it was Animal. I think it was Animal Man was 87. Doom Patrol was 88. I want to say.
okay. See,
I think
so close. The late 80s. It was just what I needed at the time. You know, from Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, he got me to get into the beat poets like Kerouac and all that stuff. It was completely him. And I tell you, after I read On the Road, I packed up and moved across country. You know what I mean? So, and that changed my life. So I'll always be grateful to Grant Morrison, even though he kind of rubs me the wrong way lately. I think he's got his head up his own ass lately.
Yeah, I think he kind of buys into the legend of Grant Morrison a little bit.
Right. He's become a brand rather than a writer. Hey, Marcus says hello. How you doing, Marcus? Marcus, just so you know, I'm one of these weekends. Don't be surprised if your sister says some crazy guy came up and says he's making a comic book with you.
I was just going to say, Marcus. I'm hoping to do something with Marcus at some point. He did a cover for one of the books I want to put out next year.
Yeah, Marcus is a good artist. He's doing one of my stories for the public eye. You know, because it's funny because I'll write a story, and then as I'm writing it, I'll picture an art style. You know,
me too.
And I'm like, oh wow, that looks like Marcus drew that in my brain. You know, I had one story, and I was like, this. When I wrote my first story, I was like, this is Renzo Rodriguez drew this. You know, and then I contacted him like, oh man, so far I've been pretty good. You know,
that's actually one of the I would say kind of the tough parts of being the writer is you end up working with someone, you know, like your main artist, you end up working with that guy long term, then you come up with a story and you don't really know how to say like, I don't want you to draw this because it's not necessarily your style and I've got someone else, but we're still going to work with you.
Right.
Maybe not this story.
Well, the thing is, I have like 10 stories written on tap and a couple more written.
Yeah.
So like one artist, I sent him a story and he said, this doesn't really fit. And I was just excited to work with this artist. So I just was like, oh, this story, you know, and he's like, so I had
the same experience. I had a script for a short story that I saw someone I thought to him, it's a really good art style and I really would love to have you published in a backup store or something. Got in touch with him, sent him the script, and he was like, do you have anything more kind of sci-fi, you know, that kind of thing? Because this doesn't necessarily feel like my cup of tea, and it's pretty. I have a lot of respect for an artist if they turn down work because
they don't want to just go. Well,
yeah.
My philosophy is have fun. If it's not fun, then don't do it. You know, and I think you get better work and you get better art. You get a better relationship, you know what I mean? And it's supposed to be so I literally said, I want to work with you. Give me a couple of days. So, and I'm keeping this guy secret because that's part of his demands is we keep it secret until it's done. And then we announce it. We put out the campaign and then ship as soon as the campaign is done. I was like, whatever, you know? So, I was like, give me a couple of days. And then it's just like a lightning bolt. This would be perfect. And then all I told him was the title. And he said, yes. And then I didn't even have it plotted. I didn't even think this character didn't exist until he said, and now it's one of my favorite characters. He's working on the story. It's going to be a one shot, you know, or maybe, no, it'll be a number one of its own thing. And the other story that I originally gave to him, another guy, we were talking and he showed me his art. Like we were talking live and he held up and I was like, oh my God, that's what I pictured in my head. So now he's halfway done with that story. So it all works out. It's a lot of fun. Now,
that was kind of how I ended up doing the cover with Marcus. As I saw one of his covers and I was like, that's really the kind of, because Marcus draws in that kind of cosmic, you know, old school comics. And I was just like,
yeah, I saw the cover. It looks good. Yeah, that's cool. So I didn't really fit that story. Oh yeah, Marcus tried out for the backup story in Heroic Tales number, and I felt really bad. You know, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but just it's. I mean, I'm working with Marcus. It tells you I like it still, but Marcus works for what he's working on now, and Ron I thought worked better for what he's working on now. And now I got Ron working on another story. I got Marcus working on a story. You know, and I'm just so happy because it just seems they're fitting so much better. You know, it's and your artist on Ashley's Argonauts, I love it. It's what is the word? Like it's
retro.
Yeah, it's retro, but it's not retro. It's modern, but it fits that pulpy look. You know,
it's that kind of early 2000s JSA kind of feel.
Yes, that's a good description because I'm one of the few people that I love Golden Age comics. I'm not too particularly fond of superhero Silver Age comics. I realize now that in the Silver Age they made some great war comics, horror comics, and Western comics. I avoided them, but Silver Age superhero comics were too hokey for me. But
it's actually kind of funny because so Daniel Max is the interior artist. When I saw his portfolios for a science fiction comic, like a cyberpunk, like a Blade Runner kind of comic, and I was like, I want to work with you, and I had a science fiction idea in mind. And while I was developing that, because the Unbreakable Argonauts was the thing that I felt a lot more passionate about, and I generally believe that you should lead with the thing that makes you, happiest.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I sort of had this crossroads where I was like, I've got this other script that I would really feel happier about doing first. And I handed it to him and I was like, but your comic art style is really kind of futurist science fiction. Would you be okay with this? And he turned in a few pages and I was like, yeah, this is actually kind of perfect. And it was just such an interesting turnaround from, like Blade Runner to 1940s, 1950s style comics.
Cool. I was just about to ask you, now that you have a comic book out, are you getting like solicitations from artists? You want to work with me? These are my page rates and stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes on Twitter it's a little bit. Sometimes you'll get someone on Twitter and you'll just look at their profile and you're like, this has to be a bot because it's the same 3 pictures just reposted. But yeah, I mean, so the way I usually meet artists is through Reddit. There's a subreddit called Comic Book Labs, which is you can put up a listing and just say, I'm looking to work with someone. Here are the specifications. This is my budget, that kind of thing. And no matter how specific you are, you still get absolutely flooded with people who are like,
I don't blame those people. I don't
either.
My whole philosophy has just been ask. Just ask people like I
the
never
worst that can happen is someone says
shooter on my channel if I just didn't ask. You know what I mean? I called Dave Sim and Captain Ironwood and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You just ask. So so I don't blame those people, but I've been getting a lot of solicitations from people, and it's like too good to be true. Now, one guy showed me beautiful pages, and he said $30 a page, but he lives in India. So I'm like, is this a scam? Is this a bot? Or is that just like a good rate for India? But his art was beautiful. I'm really tempted to just gamble $30 and give him a super one-page, super detailed to see what he could do for $30. I'm more curious than anything. But
I had something like that where someone was like, someone posted a page of here's me doing Spider-Man. And everyone was like, "This is fantastic art." And he's like, "Yeah, it's a $40 page rate." And I look at it and I go, "I think that's a Sal Buscema piece." and sure enough, a day goes by and everyone's like, "It's up. This guy's a scammer. This is just ripped from an old Marvel magazine." I mean,
this one guy from it's more curious. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a scam, but I figure $30, whatever. Yeah. But everybody else that I'm working with, I knew beforehand, so I'm pretty lucky. Oh, Creators Outlet say nerds, absolutely. But I've been pretty fortunate, and I think like you're gonna have your second comic coming out, and I think once you establish yourself, people are gonna know that you're real.
Yeah.
It is a relatively small circle, so people are gonna know you're reliable, you pay. I've never had any problems with like disputes about pay or anything like that. So,
Yeah, me either.
you know,
I
that's
think
one
the
my advice to anybody new. Pay right away
yeah,
and don't pay in advance unless you have a relationship. People, here's 10 pages, and then that guy's gonna spend that money and then take another job because he already got paid for your work. And now he needs to pay rent now because he already spent your money. So now he's gonna work with somebody else. You know, if I was in college, I'd be doing the same thing.
yeah.
Howdy, Ben Samar. How you doing, Ben? Michael Hart, 60s DC superhero comics had some lovely art, though. Yes, yes. Oh, I was going to say that about Golden Age art, about your art. Your art in your comic evokes the Golden Age, but as much as I love the Golden Age, I do admit a lot of it's stiff, whereas yours has the best of both worlds. It has like a Golden Age feel, but it doesn't have that
It feels
amateur.
energetic. Yeah.
Yeah, like and I don't blame the Golden Age people. These people were literally inventing the comic books medium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like blaming old art for looking wonky. Before the Renaissance and stuff. But whatever.
I mean, also they didn't have the benefit of all the digital editing and industrial. What do you call it?
Well, I'll beg to defer because I think the best art came out before all this digital stuff, like in the 80s. Just before they started doing that. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe they were doing digital stuff and I just don't know better. But like, I look at like George Perez and John Byrne and stuff like that. That to me is, or why can't I think of the guys? I know Marcus knows. He did the Legion of Superheroes. Steve Leahy, just great artwork before all the digital effects. But yeah, I'm sure the digital effects, like Renzo, like it doesn't matter how detailed you give a script. There's always going to be something that needs to be changed sooner or later. And he could just.
Well, I was going to say. Sorry, go ahead.
I drank way too much coffee, so I'm talking too much. But I'll finish this thought, then you talk. But Renzo, like he could fix it in seconds because he just removes a layer. Like he draws everything in layers, so he could just remove one layer, problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Godfo, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. I just put your comic books in my long boxes. It's been sitting in my temporary long box for a while. Godfo, looking forward to the next issue. So anyway, I talk too much. Go ahead. My wife's upstairs shaking her head, going, "He's talking."
Oh, what I was going to say of Golden Age comics was, a lot of those guys, it was like, Great Depression had just happened, and a lot of art studios, because I know Bob Kane didn't really draw a lot of the stuff. He had like little studio guys, and everyone would get like a page, like here's your assignment and that kind of thing.
Right.
And I think as the 60s kind of rolled about, there were a lot more artists who were kind of making a name for themselves independently of the publisher. And so you had that more, like Jack Kirby reliability, if you want to call it that, and, Steve Ditko and everyone. And I think moving through the 50s and 60s, there was just a lot more, I'd say a lot more trust in artists rather than, like we expect a certain style from everyone. And I think that's pretty much how comics evolved. But speaking of art, I was going to say you don't realize until you're making a comic how much heavy lifting the colors do, because you'll get pages where they're great pages, but then you get the color back and there's just, you just see like how much of a transformation it is from black and white to color. Even though there are some artists who I think look better in black and white, you really notice the difference in what a colorist brings to the comic.
Right.
I'm sure you've had the same experience.
Yeah, Ron Musicki comes to mind. He did the backup in my comic. His art just got better and better and better, and he's doing a Raven, a character. We share a name.
We share a Raven, yeah.
Yeah. My Raven is like a Batman rip off homage, and your Raven is like an aviator. Like it.
Yeah, I mean he's there's definitely a little bit in common with Batman. If you look at the design, there's a little bit of Batman in there. He's like he's got a black cowl over his face, but yeah, his backstory is he's like an aerospace tycoon, and so he's Batman. If Batman was a little bit more interested in gadget, well, I mean he does use gadgets, but a little bit more in that style than the dark brooding detective.
Yeah, but Ron's art, he kind of retired from comics. He opened up his own business and everything like that, and but he still gets the itch, and he says, "Hey, John, I'm going to do some fan art," and he drew the Raven fighting Patriarch. He just did that and sent it, and it's gorgeous to the point. And I was like, "Well, that's funny because Patriarch #2, the Raven and Patriarch are going to fight, so this is going to be a cover if you don't mind." And it's so good in black and white, and his art is so good in black and white. And then when I colored it, it's almost like it's a different piece. Like,
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to put it on Twitter because my computer's all wonky. I don't want to start messing with stuff now. But I'll put it and I'll tag you on it so you can see the difference that I'm talking about. Like to the point where I'm like wondering if I might use that as the back cover in black and white just to show everybody how good and detailed it is. And Marcus, your art, I notice your art, to me, I get two completely different feels in black and white. And Marcus is going, "Oh no," because he's like, I think I'm the first time his art has ever been colored. But it's true. Sometimes it's a shame to color the black and white art. Yes, I agree. Ashley's Raven reminds me a bit of the Spirit or Crimson Avenger. Yes. Well, you have a more pulp inspiration. I do have a pulp team of superheroes that I can't wait for you to see someday. I don't want to name any of them yet because I'm always afraid of my names getting stolen.
Yeah, it kind of it's like when I created my characters, a couple of them were definitely you kind of look at them and you go, that's like one of the characters looks a lot like Shazam. And in between issues 1 and 2, I was like, I really don't like having a character who looks like someone else's super. Like at first, I kind of thought it was a little bit cool, but in between issues 1 and 2, I'm just like, I really want my characters to be a lot more distinct from other people's. And like the last thing it kind of sucks because I think to some extent everyone in comics is doing like, this is my version of, something else. But at some point you don't really like the parallels and you want,
right. I get what you're saying. Like I always say there's homages and there's ripoffs.
Yeah.
I got no problems with homages. Ripoffs, obviously we don't like. But I also feel that with comic books and superheroes in particular, there's like a shorthand, that there's archetypes and stuff that have been established that we follow. And, after 80 years of superheroes, it's really difficult to create a new archetype or to create a new original. So I'm of the opinion just to embrace your homages, and make it unique because, look at any new character right now. I'm trying to think Marvel and DC. Who are the newest Marvel and DC characters? Geez, I can only think of two new Marvel, and they're relatively old now, thinking about it. But there's Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, and she's using somebody else's name. The other Spider-Man, Miles Morales Spider-Man, using somebody else's name. I mean, you can't be more on the nose than that. And I'm trying to think, is there even any new dude? The only new DC characters are new Green Lantern. So like the big two to me are getting stale. So all of the interesting indie stuff, like the Patriarch is homage of Superman, but I like to think that I'm doing something a little bit different. Maybe you don't see it in issue 1, but I'm trying to put my own unique spin on it. I mean, how many Batman homages are there, or Punisher? And that's fine as long as you put your own spin on it.
Yeah, I was going to say one of.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say one of the frustrating things about doing your own indie comic is you're thinking like 5 issues ahead, and so you're well into like character development that you just can't show people, and you show people for years, and they're just like,
oh yeah,
they'll look at a character and they'll be like, I know what you're going to do with him, and you're like, no, you don't, because it's like plus 6 issues planned out, and there's nothing like that. And
right. I have comics planned, and literally it's going to take 3 or 4 years before they come out. Yeah. And I have a lot of people speculating, and 2 of them hit it right on the head, and I got to pretend that they didn't. You know what I mean? I got to just like, well, that's interesting. Couple of artists know the grand story because they draw details into the scripts, but yeah, it's wonderfully frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you kind of get lost in your own little world thinking
Right.
about it and coming up with the characters, and then you remember that for everyone else they're only on the first chapter, and it's like I
Right.
want to show you so much more.
Right. A couple of people ask me questions that I'm like, I and then they know when I say I can't answer that, then they know, So
Yeah.
I got to come up with some nonsense answer to keep them guessing, But so you have one comic out on the Unbreakable Argonauts. The second issue is Marcus put the Kickstarter. Forgive me, I can't remember every detail. Is this live right now?
No, it's just the sign up right now.
Oh, it's just a sign up right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any idea when you think you'll be ready for shipping?
For shipping, probably next summer.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what? Oh, so then you don't even have? Do you have a launch date in mind?
We're probably going to launch the campaign live in November.
Okay.
Just
Cool.
right now, I'm just working on. It's like I have a decently sized mailing list from the issue 1 campaigns. Right now, I'm just trying to grow it through the sign up sheet, and once I'm kind of happy that I've got that enough people are going to see it on launch date, that's when I'll go live.
Yeah. How do you feel about signups? I really haven't. Excuse me. I haven't been utilizing that, and I have not been utilizing Substack or anything like that. Do you find those to be worthwhile? I mean, help each other.
I mean,
we're both.
I definitely neglect my Substack as well. I'm hoping to reach a point where I'm putting it. The thing is, you kind of want to strike a balance between letting people know and not spamming them. And that's my big worry, is that if you're putting out like a couple of newsletters a week, then you're going to piss off more people than are going to come buy a book.
Right.
And
I like that, because I get super annoyed at spam. Like I work at a strange schedule. I'm working 3 to 11. So I tend to, I come home from work, do my business, eat food, take a shower. So I'm not going to bed till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm sleeping in, and now I'm getting spam calls, and I'm like ready to smash my phone against the wall. You know what I mean? Even when I silence it, it still vibrates and wakes me up. And then I go on my phone, and it's spam. And I have to say, like, even when I see it's Ashley's Argonauts, like I get annoyed. So I'm walking that same. Marcus just made me laugh. Once in a while, Marcus. Once in a while. If you work at the sewage treatment plant, I'd say take a shower once a week or so. But so I don't know if I've been neglecting, because I'm on Fund My Comic, I'm on Indiegogo, I'm on Kickstarter, but this campaign I skipped Indiegogo. I think I only released like 2 or 3 updates. Now, am I being neglectful, or am I being respectful of people's spend? That's for you guys to decide. But honestly, I'm not going to update until there's something worth updating. You already backed the comic. You're already interested. Do you really?
What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to put out a newsletter like a week ahead of going live, and I'm just going to give them like a schedule. Like, I'm going to send out 3 more newsletters over the next month, and here's when I'm going to send them out. And if you don't want that, just ignore it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to ask people. Maybe I put up a Twitter poll or a YouTube poll or something like that.
So I think I don't know if it's the same with Fund My Comic. If you use Kickstarter, you can put out. So what I did was I put out a survey and asked people, "Are you okay with me adding you to the mailing list?" And then they can just answer and tell you if they want to be down on it.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of help.
So you used Fund My Comic and you used Kickstarter. So have you tried?
I've used all 3.
Oh, you used all.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to use all 3?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't use Indiegogo because I only got 10 backers on Indiegogo. I blame myself because I did Fund My Comic first and I did Kickstarter second. So I'm thinking either release the comic on all 3 platforms at once, or I'm going to do Fund My Comic first. I'm loyal to Fund My Comic. It's always going to be Fund My Comic first, and then probably Kickstarter and Indiegogo on the same day.
What I usually do is I'll pick one for my main campaign. That'll be where I put up the overall goal. This is roughly how much I want to get, and then if I'm successful there, then I'll go and I'll do a like a last chance campaign or a special event campaign over on one of the other things. And I think Fund My Comic is probably best for having a storefront because they let you keep a campaign up indefinitely, and you can just
Yeah,
show up and say like,
I agree.
I've got a book ready, and you can just buy it direct from me. And that's something that, because even if you have a book ready, if you go over to Kickstarter, they still want you to have a goal, and if you don't meet the goal, then you don't get paid, even if even if it's a direct sale.
Right.
And so that's definitely a pro of Fund My Comic.
Yeah, Fund My Comic is going to be my home base. First off, for those of you who are new, I assume everybody, there's always one person who's Fund My Comic is a new crowdfund platform owned by Luke Stone, and he is a great guy, great help. Without his help, I personally would not have 2 comic books being made. He's a great guy. I've made every possible mistake. And Luke was even laughing because he goes, "You're the only one who's ever made this particular mistake," and he's fixed them all. So I'm a loyal guy. Yeah, so I'll always be with Fund My Comic. Kickstarter, I did okay.
Yeah.
Indiegogo, whatever. But now they got new backers. Now they got new owners. Maybe I won't be shadow banned. So I'll give them another try.
For me, I don't really mind people who are like, I'm loyal to this company. It's like I had when I did my very first campaign, which was all the way back in, I want to say May of 23. I had people who were saying, because originally I was up on Indiegogo, and I had a couple of retailers here in Ireland who are quite friendly with, and I was like, would you be okay sharing this around? They were like, yeah, send us the link. I send them a link, and a day goes by, and they go, oh, we don't actually believe in sharing stuff around if it's from Indiegogo because of the company that they keep. And I was like, okay. I just came back with wait until I was funded, came back with a Kickstarter, and they were like, yeah, we'll share this around.
Oh, who? If not to start drama or anything, but I'm like, what company don't they like?
So the retailers that I was talking to wouldn't share anything around from Indiegogo just because of the. I'd say it was more of a thing back then. I haven't really had anyone complain about platforms in the last year or so, but back then they were like, we just don't do stuff with CG.
Sheldon is very disappointed. He saw Ashley and he wanted to flirt with the girl. You could still flirt with Ashley over here. He's fine.
You'd be surprised how often that happens. I think back in 2023, I went on a panel, and I think that because I went on, there was like I think it was like 4 creators, and I go on, I'm the only guy there, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I feel like this was meant to be a girls' panel. You just accidentally thought I was a girl and invited me on, and I'm just like sitting there, and I'm saying less and less and less, and I'm like, I don't think I should be here.
That's funny. All right, Sheldon says shave and we'll talk. That goes for both of us, I guess. Marcus says he thinks a sign up is a good idea. I feel like if you sign up, I feel like you should back because you sign up. Yeah, like a lot of people sunken cost fallacy, you know what I mean? Or in for a penny, in for a pound. I agree. I don't know. It's something I should work on. Have you done conventions or anything?
No, I live in Ireland, and the only conventions that are close to me, I think, are Dublin City Comic Con. I should have gone this year. I really wish I had gone this year, but I think I'll probably do the next one.
I didn't do any conventions yet because I only had one comic, and I feel like there's a lot of one-hit wonders who just show up, and I think like people who go to comic conventions are not just casuals, and they're going to be like, oh, another one-hit wonder, another one, you know what I mean? So, maybe that's the excuse, but like now that I got issue 2, I'm going to go to conventions. Matter of fact, Vaughn Coleman just messaged me last night that there's a real small local convention, like 25 minutes away from me, like tiny, like if 100 people show up. But I think that is a good way to get my foot in the door. So me and him might share a table and, practice. I should talk to Paul Thayer, who does the Project Analysis. That guy could sell water to Aquaman, learn. because I know me. I'm going to strike up conversations with people, become best friends, and forget to sell comics.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I tried doing the live streaming last year, and every time I was like, I should, because it's my channel, I was like, I should really shout out my own comic before I have someone on. Every single time I'd have them on, it would just completely skip my mind, and I'd go to the end, and it'd be like the last minute, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, thanks for coming on. And I'd be like, oh wait, I have a comic as well.
Yeah, Marcus
Yes.
in the chat, he used to bust my chops. He's like, remember to sell your comic. I was like, oh yeah. Likes. And since we're talking about that, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. I'm like the only YouTube guy. I never remind people about super chats or bells for notifications. I just like talking to people.
I will say too, like if there's anyone watching and you want to become a comic creator, I'd say there's no such thing as putting in too much marketing ahead of time, and really, first of all, letting your comic sit with, like your script sit with you, and just figure out how happy you are with it, and if there's any changes you want to make, but also building up the audience, I think is really, really important, because when I launched, I had like 80 Twitter followers, and I was like, I can do this. I can convince a couple hundred people to buy my comic across a month, but it's very difficult to build up the audience and really get eyeballs on it.
It's rough.
Yeah.
And now I hit a certain level of either infamy or fame, what depending on your point of view, and now I'm just being attacked from all sides. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, it's comic books. Everybody calm down. It's just comic books. So if you want to make your own comics and you do it through the YouTube crowd, you got to get a thick skin. Got to get a thick skin. What do we got? Sheldon over here. One hit wonder, two hitter quitter, 3 book crook. The list continues. Just show up at the cons. I agree. I don't know. I just didn't want to show up with just one comic. Now that I have 2, and when I have a third title, or a second title, that'll just it looks good. Looks good.
Yeah, I think for me, because my comic ends on a cliffhanger, and so I'm still very apprehensive about being like, here's a comic. There is a part 2 coming out, and you need to read part 2 because it ends on a cliffhanger. And a lot of people are just going to be like, I'm not going to buy a cliffhanger book. It's probably never going to get a second issue.
Yeah, I don't want to criticize, but I feel, and you do you, and I like your book, and I'm getting your second issue. I like it a lot, actually. It just hits my sweet spot of stuff. But I don't want to do cliffhangers until I know I could produce in a timely manner. Like right now, I have, my schedule is, I'm working with one artist right now. I got, my next comic book is by one artist, and he's working with a bunch of other people, and he has kids, and he, as far as I know, I think he still has his day job. You know what I mean? So I don't know when I could, and then other people are putting in demand. I don't know if people like, do me first, work on my stuff. I don't ask. I don't want to start any of that kind of animosity or anything like that. So whenever he submits a page, he submits a page. So I can't do a cliffhanger. So my philosophy is complete issue. Each issue is a complete story. And if it needs to be a longer, like Patriarch #1 is 45 pages of stories. So I think I'm going to make it a 52 and put giant sized, and make it like a 52 older.
So that was actually the plan with Unbreakable Argonauts #1. If you go back to the very first campaign we did on Indiegogo, it's giant sized Unbreakable Argonauts #1, because originally it was going to be a 64-page graphic novel. And
that's
I kind of took assessment of how much I'd actually need to raise to make 64-page graphic novel in one go. And I had the script, and I had all the, originally it was going to be, so you'd have the graphic novel, you'd get to page 32, and then there would be a short story, and then you read through the short story, issue 2 would come out. And I just reached a point where I was like, I don't think it's really realistic to do 64 pages in one go for a first-time campaign, and broke it up. And I was like, it's probably going to please more people and be less annoying if I do a single 32-page comic and then follow up with another 32-page comic. And I think that was probably for getting the comic funded, I think that was the right choice at the time.
Yeah, it's more advice for new people. Don't depend on making any money.
Yeah.
Only spend what you could afford to lose.
Yep.
You know, to me, I don't go out to bars. I'm not going out and picking up chicks. Comic books is my hobby. So I'm spending hobby money that I would have spent on back issues or board games or something like that. Like, I literally haven't bought a board game since I started making comics, but I still got games in shrink wrap over here. So you're going to lose the money. Maybe if you're lucky, if you're in the top 1% of comic book people, you'll turn a profit down the road. Remember, 90% of all businesses fail. Whether it's a pizzeria, a restaurant, a movie, a comic book, a novel. And when I say fail, I mean don't turn a profit. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, making a comic book is a success. So you got to keep that in mind. So Ashley, I don't know what your day job is, but we both have our day jobs and we're doing things according to our budget. Now, I've been fortunate where my first comic made enough money to fund my second comic. And now my second comic is making enough money to fund my third comic. But my third comic is a lot bigger than I expected. So I need the third comic to raise a little bit extra money to pay for itself, but notice I'm not including profit anywhere. Maybe someday, like when I get 3 issues of Heroic Tales, that's going to be 120 pages. Maybe I'll do a 3, trade paperback. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my thing is, once I've got the comic done, I'll come back and I'll say, I might commission another cover and I'll say, here's a campaign exclusive, last chance, come get it. And I did one of those in September and wasn't asking for a huge goal. It's just like, this is just to raise some money to pay for some pages and a cover for the issue 2. And I think that's probably one of the better ways to do it once you got the book out.
Yep, I agree.
Do you use digital stuff like Amazon and Global Comics?
I haven't used any of that stuff yet. I like I said, I only got 1 comic out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I when I got like 2 or 3 comics out, maybe go Amazon. RJ from Critical Blast has a lot of connections. Global Comics.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be fun. The only thing I don't want to do, but maybe it's a smart idea to do it anyway, is the print on demand. I kind of like the idea of this is my print run, and when it's out, it's out. And then my wife is giving me a sandwich because she knows I got to go to work. And then, I like that. Like, print on demand just makes printings meaningless.
Yeah.
And it makes kind of collectability meaningless, but it gets more people to buy your comics. So, and one thing one of the guys I'm working with has a connections with established publishers. So he basically said the same thing. Like, wait until you get a couple of issues under your belt. Maybe we can get you into comic book stores and stuff. So I just want to get into comic book stores just because I love comic book stores.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking with the doing the science fiction magazine next year is going to have the actual magazine dimensions. And a lot more stores will carry stuff if you have magazine dimensions rather than comic book dimensions. But
more profitability.
Yeah.
So Ashley, what's the note? Do you have a catch-up tier? Can you get issue 1 and 2?
Yep. So issue 2, we're actually going to have you can get issue 1 and 2. You can also get Tales of the Argonauts, which is going to be it's going to be issues 1 and 2 collected with a series of short stories set in the Argonauts universe. And so you can, it's going to be like a really nice hardcover book that you can get, and it's but you can get you'll be able to get issues 1 and 2 digitally. You're going to be able to get issues 1 and 2 physically, and you're going to be able to get Tales of the Argonauts. So it's whatever your
Is Tales of the Argonauts its own standalone book for people like me that already bought issue number 1?
So Tales of the Argonauts is going to have issues 1 and 2, all the backup stories, all the concept art, and it's going to have short stories that are going to be exclusive to Tales of the Argonauts. So it's basically going to be everything that we've published between 2023 and when the book comes out, all collected in one place.
Okay, cool. Now, I hate to do this, but I got to leave in 4 minutes. I got to go upstairs
No worries.
and get into my dirty work clothes and go to work. So, anything you want to say? Oh, you never put your link in the private chat, so I can share the link.
Yeah.
So put your link in the private chat. Remember, Ashley's Argonauts, issue number 1. I thought I really enjoyed. I love your characters. The art. I like the art. The story is intriguing. Colors look good. I mean, it's a professional comic book. I don't care what anybody says. It's a professional comic book. You know, it's cool, John. You could, super chats. I'll change on stream. Okay, let's go. Everybody, super chats. I'll change.
I'm just dropping the link in 1 second.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I'm also doing there'll be another comic that we do after this one. I'm kind of the rule that because issue 1 was a cliffhanger, I really shouldn't do anything else until issue 2 is funded and everything. But after issue 2, we're going to have something called Lucky Duck Incorporated, which is it's about a duck detective and his human partner, and they're taking on it's basically the Unbreakable Argonauts universe, but it's set a few years prior, and it's a little bit more cartoony and silly and mystery and that kind of thing.
I'm real excited for you to see my World War II superhero team. You know, I don't know when I could fit them in because I want it to be drawn by Renzo, and I'm already overworking Renzo. Renzo's like committed to like 4 stories right now. So yeah, but I got to get to work. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't like this schedule either. Thanks this many people for watching. Geez, I didn't expect that many people to be watching this time of day. So anything you want to say to take us before I close out? I can't even talk anymore.
Listen, I mean, if you love old school comics, if you love science fiction, pulp magazines, that kind of thing, the Unbreakable Argonauts numbers 1 and 2 are basically aimed squarely at you. And if that's your kind of thing, definitely give it a follow, and we'll be launching soon. And thanks as always for having me on.
Yeah, it's always good to see you. You know, you're always welcome to drop by. I enjoy talking with you, and I do enjoy the comic, but I hate to be. It's an hour commute, and you never know.
No worries.
If there's going to be.
I completely understand.
But there's always time to push Genuine Comics. Dave Brinks, he just finished up his campaign for Perfect 10. I always say the wrong thing. I always
think of Top 10 from Alan Moore.
Right, top 10. Well, now you confuse me. Perfect 10. He just finished up his campaign. It's a great comic. To me, it's the best superhero comic out. Sorry, Ashley. And I really enjoy it. But there you go. I got to get going though, just in time.
Yeah.
So see everybody. I guess at this point it's time to say goodbye, kids.
Goodbye, kids.